There are two clashes in this debate: support to feminist movements, and secondly, validation to feminist members. And here's why government wins both cases. First clash: support. Opposition says by supporting Summer of Women, we will be able to raise more awareness and support feminism by projecting that feminism is a success and capitalize on it by raising confidence about supported more. Right? But here's why it fails. Firstly, some mitigation. When when there are not as much as confidence in feminism, support will not dry up because there are other avenues of support such as pre-existing donors and organizations and sympathizers. So even if you don't support Summer of Women, even if you do not raise or capitalize on on the potential raise in confidence if in supporting Summer of Women, you will still get these support from pre-existing donors and organizations and sympathizers. And also, there are actresses in the Summer of Women itself, like Margaret Robbie and Barbie, who are also famous themselves. So even without explicit organizational support, we will still get some of the support from these people that are drawing attention to the feminist movements by their own by themselves, right? By their own initiative. Here's an A minus. It is not true that feminism is winning or whether it will raise confidence in feminism, right? There are still great setbacks that feminism suffered in the summer of 2023, for example, the repealing of Roe v. Wade. So it won't raise confidence in feminism at all, since Roe v. Wade is more significant than movies. The failure of Roe v. Wade would be a more significant setback and would outweigh the feminist confidence that they would gain if feminism choose to celebrate Summer of Women's successes. Here's an even if there is much more confidence to feminism, it is not necessarily translating to higher support for feminism movements, since support depends on pity or on suffering, right? But let's actually take this further. It would actually be worse on their side of the house. Here's why it would actually be worse on their side of the house if somehow Summer of Women would increase confidence, which is what opposition is trying to say here, with their best case. Firstly, I would disagree with the opposition's claiming that supporting people would not be exclusive. Um, Here's why we can't support both Summer of Women and other at the same time. Because you have limited resources and you have limited airtime, right? A social movement's resource is not infinite, it's limited because they don't have much money, they don't have infinite money, and airtime is also very limited. Attention is also very limited. It is also the case, for example, internet, people are incentivized to see what they want to do, they want to see on the happy. Meaning, if we choose to celebrate summer, for example, they're less likely to see people getting females being females having female genital mutilation or rape cases in Pakistan or in India, right? So opposition's characterization of supporting movements is broken, right? Because you can't just support both; you have to support one because your resources are limited. So feminists must choose. Here's why it's actually worse on their case because most of feminist help and assistance is predicated on pity and suffering, which creates urgency. For example, I feel like I need to support feminists because I see on the internet that people are getting raped in Pakistan, that females in Egypt are experiencing female mutilation, right? That's why I support them because there's an urgency created by pity and suffering, which is exposed to me. When we celebrate Summer of Women, people will see that feminism is not as pitiable and it's not a suffering movement, right? But it's actually a dominant that is winning. So what will happen is that it will remove the pity, it will remove the suffering, and therefore it will remove the sense of urgency on their side of the house. And since much of the support to feminism is predicated on the basis of that there is an urgency that we solve, much of the support to the movement will be missing on their side of the house. Here's a second flip. The summer isn't entirely a women. For example, Oppenheimer also winning an Oscar and other achievements that is not entirely women. So if we choose to brand it as a summer of women, it will risk alienating the men viewers and making it and it will create political contention, right? And when something is politically contentious, companies are less likely to support them. Companies are less likely to capitalize on these trends because they fear that it will bring bad image to their own company. Even though the support of companies is what helps these movies to be successful in the first place. So who win this clash? Second clash about validation. Opposition says it's our weapon. Here's why it's not the case. Mitigation. My PM was correct in characterizing which women will this empower. By sponsoring women in Summer of Women, the people you will be able to sponsor are people who are already empowered enough to watch Taylor Swift, who are aware enough to know that Taylor Swift exists, and who have the financial capability to, at the very least, buy a ticket to her concerts, right? So it wouldn't really give the best return and support to the movement because they are already empowered, right? And here's another mitigation. Even so, these people are rich and empowered enough to, at the very least, able to internalize the inspirational stories of other people, even those who are men, because they're already in open and most probably equal community, right? So when they see a success story, they don't have to confirm that they themselves can be successful by seeing a success story of women. It's just that they can also be successful by seeing success stories of men because they're already in a society which deems people equal, right? So it's not really necessary for them to see women being successful. Here's an A minus. Why it wouldn't really empower women? It wouldn't really empower women, even though it will give inspiration, since without the capacity to actually realize it, here's the case in most areas, it will be unrelatable and fail to inspire women actually because it's so out of touch, right? Okay. Now let's go to the even if it does empower women, it empowers women to be singers, right, on their side, as opposed to on our side, where my PM and DPM have said and characterized that instead of seeing at role models like Taylor Swift, we look at role models like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So, on our side, people will actually be inspired and incentivized to be people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to be people in areas in which it actually matters, right? Instead of on the opposition side where they would be incentivized to become someone like Swift. But let's take the mitigation A minus and even. Let's actually, empowerment is worse on your side because you fail to protect the most vulnerable actor, namely women who are suffering in third world countries. These are most likely to help us back since number one, they don't have a safety net, therefore they would have some kind of debt to us, and this will validate feminism more because these are the feminism pledge protect. Because when you give more attention to women who flies private plane like Taylor Swift and is already rich enough to buy a house in LA, you will divert attention away from women who really needs it, from women who are suffering from FGM in Egypt, from women who are suffering from because of rape in Pakistan, for example. What you will do is essentially validate and empower the wrong kind of women. The kind of woman who is already rich enough and empowered enough. And when you do that, because airtime and resources is limited, you are actively not supporting women who really needs it, women who are living in third world countries who are really suffering. And what this will create is there will be a negative sense of validation because you see your movement supporting women who doesn't need it while at the same time ignoring women who really, really needs it. And this is why we win this case.